My name is Alex, and this is the story of how my straight roommate's sleeping habits exposed a truth neither of us was ready to face. It started 6 months ago when I posted an ad for a roommate. My previous one had moved out to live with his girlfriend, leaving me with a two-bedroom apartment in downtown Seattle that I couldn't afford alone. I was 24, working as a graphic designer, and desperately needed someone to split the rent. That's when Noah responded. His message was straightforward. Hey, I'm Noah, 25, software engineer, clean, quiet, no drama, looking for a place ASAP. Can I come see the apartment today? When he showed up an hour later, I understood why he'd been so eager. He was carrying two suitcases and looked exhausted, like he'd been sleeping in his car. Long story, he said when he saw my expression. My ex-girlfriend kicked me out. We were living together, and when we broke up, she got the apartment. I've been crashing at a friend's place for 2 weeks, but I really need my own space. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with sandy brown hair, blue eyes, and the kind of athletic build that suggested he spent time at the gym. He seemed nice enough, if a bit guarded, and honestly, I needed a roommate fast. When can you move in? I asked. Today. And just like that, I had a new roommate. The first few weeks were normal. We established routines, figured out the kitchen schedule, and settled into a comfortable coexistence. Noah worked from home most days, so I'd often come back from the office to find him at the dining table, hunched over his laptop, completely absorbed in code. He was exactly what he'd promised: clean, quiet, drama-free. We'd have dinner together sometimes, watch a game on weekends, chat about work and life. He talked about his ex occasionally, Jessica, who he'd dated for 3 years. He seemed genuinely heartbroken about the breakup, which made sense. I never told him I was gay. It didn't seem relevant. We were roommates, not friends, sharing our life stories, and honestly, after years of being out, I was tired of making my sexuality the first thing people knew about me. But then, about 2 months in, something happened that changed everything. It was a Friday night. I'd gone out with friends, had a few drinks, and came home around 1 a.m. feeling pleasantly buzzed and ready to crash. I stumbled through the apartment, trying to be quiet since Noah's door was closed. I went to my room, changed into sleep clothes, and was about to get into bed when I heard something. A sound from Noah's room, not quite crying but close. A choked sob, muffled like he was trying to hide it. My hand froze on my bedroom door. Noah and I weren't close enough for me to just barge into his room when he was upset. But that sound, it was so broken, so desperate. I knocked softly on his door. Noah, you okay? Silence. Then, I'm fine, go to bed. You don't sound fine. Alex, just, his voice cracked, please just leave me alone. But I couldn't. Something in his voice pulled at me. I opened his door slowly. The sight that greeted me made my chest tight. Noah was curled up on his bed, fully dressed, clutching his phone like it was a lifeline. His face was blotchy and tear-stained, and he looked utterly destroyed. What happened? I asked, sitting on the edge of his bed without being invited. Jessica texted me she's engaged to the guy she told me not to worry about. He laughed bitterly. We broke up 3 months ago and she's already engaged, so I guess I was the problem. I was what was wrong with that relationship. That's not Noah, that's not how it works. If she moved on that fast, she probably moved on before you even broke up. I know, logically I know that, but it still feels like shit. He wiped his eyes roughly. Sorry, you didn't sign up to be my therapist. I signed up to be your roommate, and roommates help each other out when they're having a rough night. I hesitated, then added, want some company, or do you want me to leave? He looked at me for a long moment, vulnerability and gratitude warring in his expression. Company would be nice, if you don't mind. So I stayed. We talked for hours about Jessica, about heartbreak, about relationships and expectations, and all the ways we disappoint ourselves and others. Somewhere around 3 a.m., Noah's words started slurring with exhaustion. You should sleep, I said. Don't want to be alone, he mumbled, his eyes already closing. Everything's too loud in my head when I'm alone. Want me to stay until you fall asleep? Would you? I grabbed a pillow and settled against the headboard, intending to wait until he was out and then slip back to my own room. But Noah, half asleep, did something unexpected. He moved closer and rested his head on my chest. Just like that, no hesitation, no asking permission. He curled into my side, one arm draping across my stomach, his breathing already evening out into sleep. I froze. This was my straight, heartbroken roommate seeking comfort in his sleep. It meant nothing. It was just two friends or friendly roommates providing comfort during a hard time. So why was my heart racing? I told myself to move, to gently extract myself and go back to my own bed. But Noah's weight against me was warm and solid and somehow right. And when his breathing deepened into actual sleep, I found myself relaxing, my hand unconsciously moving to his hair. I fell asleep like that, my straight roommate curled against me, sleeping peacefully for the first time since his breakup. The next morning, I woke up first. Noah was still asleep, still pressed against my side, his face peaceful in a way I'd never seen it. I carefully extracted myself and went back to my room before he woke up. At breakfast, we didn't talk about it. We moved around the kitchen in our normal routine, making coffee and toast, chatting about weekend plans. If Noah remembered falling asleep on me, he didn't mention it. I assumed it was a one-time thing, a moment of vulnerability during a particularly rough night. But then it happened again. A week later, I was reading in bed when Noah knocked on my door around midnight. "Can't sleep," he said without preamble. "My brain won't shut off, can I?" He gestured vaguely at my bed. "You want to sleep in here?" "Is that weird?" "It's weird. Sorry, forget I asked." "It's not weird," I interrupted, even though it kind of was. "Come on." He climbed into bed beside me and without any discussion assumed the same position as before, head on my chest, arm across my stomach. Within 10 minutes, he was out. This became our pattern. 2 or 3 nights a week, Noah would end up in my bed, sleeping curled against me like it was the most natural thing in the world. We never discussed it. During the day, we were normal roommates. But at night, when his defenses were down and he couldn't sleep alone, he'd find his way to my room. "Why do you think you sleep better here?" I asked one night when he seemed more awake than usual. He was quiet for a long time. "I don't know, I just feel safe, like nothing bad can happen when someone's there. Does that make sense?" "Yeah," I said softly, "it makes sense." What I didn't say was that I was starting to look forward to these nights, to the weight of him against me, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the intimacy of being someone's safe space. I didn't say that I was developing feelings I had no right to have for my straight, heartbroken roommate. 3 months into this arrangement, things got complicated. It was a Saturday night. Noah and I had gone to a bar with some of his coworkers. I'd had a few drinks and was feeling relaxed and happy, chatting with one of Noah's friends about architecture, his hobby, apparently. Then Noah showed up at my elbow, his presence suddenly tense. "Ready to go?" he asked abruptly. "Already, we just got here an hour ago." "I'm tired, let's go." In the Uber home, Noah was silent, staring out the window. I couldn't figure out what had shifted. One minute we'd been having fun, the next he was practically dragging me out of the bar. "Did something happen?" I asked as we climbed the stairs to our apartment. "No, nothing happened." But his tone said otherwise. Once inside, he went straight to his room and closed the door, hard. I stood in the hallway, confused and a little hurt. We'd been getting along great all night. What had changed? Around 2 a.m., I woke to find Noah standing in my doorway. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. "Of course." He climbed into bed, but instead of immediately curling up like usual, he lay on his back, staring at the ceiling. "I need to tell you something," he said, "and I don't know how you're going to react." My heart started pounding. "Okay. That guy you were talking to tonight, Derek, he was flirting with you." "What? No, he wasn't. We were just talking about." "He was flirting with you, Alex, and you were flirting back." I sat up, turning on the bedside lamp. Noah's face was tight with something I couldn't identify, anger, hurt. Even if he was flirting, which I don't think he was, why does that matter? "Noah, what's going on?" He closed his eyes. "I got jealous, that's what's going on. I watched you talking to Derek, watched him touch your arm and make you laugh, and I wanted to punch him. I wanted to drag you away and tell him to back off, and that's when I realized." "Realized what?" "That I don't want you to flirt with other guys, that I don't want you to date other guys, that when I sleep next to you every night, it's not just about feeling safe or not wanting to be alone." He finally looked at me. "Alex, I think I have feelings for you." The world stopped spinning. You have feelings for me, I repeated flatly. You, my straight roommate who just got out of a 3-year relationship with a woman. I know how it sounds. Do you? Because it sounds like you're confused about your feelings after a breakup and you're projecting onto the first person who's been nice to you. He flinched. That's not what this is. Then what is it, Noah? Because a few months ago you were in love with Jessica, you were devastated when she ended things, and now you're telling me you have feelings for me, your male roommate. I know it doesn't make sense, he said desperately. Trust me, I've been trying to make sense of it for weeks, but Alex, I can't stop thinking about you. When I sleep next to you, I don't just feel safe, I feel right, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And during the day, I look for excuses to be near you. I get excited when you come home from work. I get jealous when you mention dating or going out. These aren't friendship feelings and they're not rebound feelings. They're something else. You're not gay, I said, my voice shaking. Noah, you've only dated women. I know, but I'm not straight either, not anymore. Maybe I'm bi, maybe I've been in denial, maybe you're the exception. I don't have all the answers, but I know what I feel. I got out of bed, packing the room. This couldn't be happening. Noah was straight. Noah was my roommate. Noah was confused and vulnerable, and I couldn't take advantage of that. You need to go back to your room, I said. Alex. No, Noah, you're confused. You've been sleeping in my bed for months because you're lonely and heartbroken. You've developed some kind of emotional dependence, but that's not the same as romantic feelings. I'm not confused, he said firmly. And I'm not emotionally dependent. Alex, I'm falling for you, actually falling for you, and I think you feel something too. What I feel doesn't matter, I said, my voice cracking. Because I can't be your experiment. I can't be the guy you try out being with men with and then decide it's not for you. I can't do that to myself. That's not what this is. How do you know? I demanded. How do you know that in 3 months you won't wake up and realize you miss women, that this was just a phase or confusion or whatever, and where does that leave me? Heartbroken and living with the guy who broke my heart. No, I can't do that. So what are you saying? I'm saying we need to stop this. The sleeping together, the codependency, all of it, we need to go back to being normal roommates. He looked like I'd slapped him. I don't want to be normal roommates. Well, I don't want to be your sexuality crisis, I snapped. Then quieter, Noah, please go to your room. He left without another word. The next few weeks were hell. Noah and I avoided each other as much as possible. He stopped coming to my room at night. I started working late to avoid being home at the same time as him. When we did have to interact, we were painfully polite, careful not to let our hands touch, maintaining maximum distance. I could hear him packing in his room some nights, hear him leave the apartment at weird hours, probably to walk off whatever he was feeling. Part of me wanted to go to him to comfort him, but I couldn't. I was protecting both of us. At least that's what I told myself. My friend Marcus noticed the change when we met for coffee. You look like shit, he said bluntly. What's going on? So I told him everything, about Noah, about the sleeping arrangements, about his confession. Let me get this straight, Marcus said. Your hot roommate, who you're clearly into, told you he has feelings for you and you sent him away. He's straight, Marcus, or he's confused. So, people figure their sexuality out all the time, especially in their 20s. Maybe he is bi, maybe he is going through a discovery process. Why does that mean you can't explore this with him? Because what if he decides I was just an experiment? What if? What if he doesn't? Marcus interrupted. What if this is real? And you're throwing away something amazing because you're scared. Of course I'm scared. I have to live with him. If this goes wrong, I can't just break up and never see him again. He's my roommate. So maybe one of you moves out if it doesn't work. Or maybe it does work and you're sabotaging your own happiness because you're too afraid to take a risk. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't because he was right. I was scared, terrified, but I was also miserable, and so was Noah. 2 weeks after our fight, I came home late from work to find Noah's bedroom door open and his room empty. His laptop was gone, some clothes were missing. On the kitchen counter was a note. Staying at my brother's for the weekend, need to think, N. I crumpled the note, a mix of relief and disappointment washing over me. Relief that I wouldn't have to navigate the awkward tension for a few days. Disappointment that he'd left without talking to me. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, acutely aware of how empty the apartment felt, how empty my bed felt. I'd gotten used to Noah's presence, his weight against me, his breathing in the darkness, the way he'd mumble in his sleep sometimes. I'd gotten used to being someone's safe space. And I missed it, I missed him. Around 2 a.m., I admitted the truth to myself. I was in love with Noah. I'd probably been in love with him for months, maybe since that first night he'd fallen asleep on my chest. And I'd pushed him away not because he was confused, but because I was terrified of getting hurt. But what if Marcus was right? What if I was throwing away something real because I was too scared to try? I grabbed my phone and texted Noah, "Can we talk when you get back?" His response came 5 minutes later, "I'm not coming back, I'm moving in with my brother. I'll pay my half of rent until you find a new roommate, but I can't live with you anymore, it hurts too much." My heart stopped. He was moving out because of me, because I'd been too afraid to take a chance. I called him, he answered on the third ring. "Don't move out," I said without preamble. "Alex, please don't move out, not before we talk, really talk, I need to see you." "It's 2 a.m. I don't care, Noah, please, where are you?" He gave me his brother's address. I grabbed my keys and drove across the city in my pajamas, my heart pounding the entire way. Noah answered the door looking as exhausted as I felt. His brother's apartment was small and I could hear someone snoring in the back room. "Come on," Noah whispered, leading me out to the parking lot. We sat in my car, the engine off, neither of us speaking for a long moment. "Why are you here?" Noah asked finally. "Because I'm an idiot," I said. "Because I let fear make my decisions instead of my heart. Because I sent you away when all I wanted was to pull you closer." "Alex, let me finish. You were right, I do have feelings for you. I've had feelings for you for months. Every night you slept in my bed, I fell a little more in love with you. And that terrified me, because you're straight or were straight and I thought you were just confused or lonely or processing your breakup." "I'm not confused," he said quietly. "I've spent 2 weeks at my brother's thinking about nothing else, analyzing every feeling, every interaction. And I'm not confused, Alex, I'm bi. I've probably been bi my whole life and just never let myself acknowledge it. But you made me face it, you made me realize what I actually want." "And what do you want?" I want you. I want to sleep in your bed not because I'm scared to be alone, but because that's where I'm happiest. I want to come home to you after work. I want to tell you about my day and hear about yours. I want to be the person you text when something funny happens. I want to be your boyfriend, Alex, not your roommate, not your experiment, your actual boyfriend." My eyes were stinging with tears. "I want that too, God, Noah, I want that so much." "Then why did you push me away?" "Because I'm scared of getting hurt. Because I couldn't stand the thought of you realizing I wasn't what you wanted and having to see you every day after. Because I've never felt this way about anyone and that's terrifying." "You think I'm not scared?" he asked. "I'm coming out as bi at 25, my ex-girlfriend is engaged to someone else, I'm completely redefining my understanding of my own sexuality, and I'm in love with my roommate who I thought was going to reject me forever. I'm terrified, Alex, but I'm also surer than I've ever been about anything." "You love me," I whispered. "I'm in love with you," he corrected. "Have been for months, probably. So the question is, are you going to let fear keep us apart, or are you going to take a chance on us?" I kissed him right there in my car in his brother's parking lot at 2:30 in the morning. I kissed him like I'd been wanting to for months, like he was air and I was drowning. When we pulled apart, we were both smiling. "So you'll take a chance on us?" he asked. "I'll take every chance, all the chances. Noah, I'm sorry I pushed you away. I'm sorry I didn't believe you when you said what you felt was real. You were protecting yourself, I get it, but we're done with that now, right? No more protecting ourselves from each other." "No more protecting ourselves," I agreed. "Just being honest, being brave, being together." We drove back to our apartment, our home, holding hands the entire way. When we got inside, Noah headed straight to my room. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To bed, where else?" "Your bed is in your room." He grinned. "Not anymore. If we're doing this, if we're really doing this, I'm sleeping in your bed, our bed, unless you don't want." I pulled him close. I've always wanted." We climbed into bed together, but this time everything was different. This time when Noah curled against me, it wasn't about comfort or safety, it was about choice, about love. "Alex," he murmured, half asleep already. "Yes. Thanks for coming to get me. Thanks for being worth coming to get." He was asleep within minutes, his breathing evening out, his weight solid and real against me, and for the first time in weeks I felt at peace. 6 months later. Coming out as bi was harder than Noah expected. His parents struggled with it, his friends had questions, and his ex-girlfriend sent him a scathing text accusing him of having been closeted their entire relationship, which wasn't true, but try explaining that. But he handled it with grace and honesty, and slowly people came around. His brother became his biggest supporter. His mom called every week trying to understand. His dad was still quiet about it but showed up to our first dinner party as a couple, which felt like acceptance. We navigated the transition from roommates to boyfriends, learning each other in new ways. Our first fight was about dishes. He claimed I never did them. I claimed he was a hypocrite. Our first real date was at an overpriced Italian restaurant where we both admitted we'd rather be at home in sweatpants. Our first time saying "I love you" in daylight, not whispered in the dark, was on a random Tuesday when Noah brought me coffee at work just because. "I never thought I'd have this," Noah said one night as we were getting ready for bed. "This easy kind of love, where being together feels natural, where I don't have to pretend or hide or be anyone other than who I am." "Is it what you expected?" I asked, "being with a man versus being with women?" "It's different," he admitted, "but not in the ways I thought it would be. The mechanics are different, sure, but the feelings, the intimacy, that's the same. Love is love, right?" "Right." He climbed into our bed, and waited for me to join him. When I did, he curled into his usual position, head on my chest, arm across my stomach, perfect and right. "You know what's crazy?" he said. "What?" "I used to think I slept in your bed because I was lonely and heartbroken and couldn't stand to be alone, but I don't think that's why." "No. No, I think some part of me knew even then, knew that this is where I belonged, with you. I think my subconscious figured it out before my conscious mind caught up." "Sneaky subconscious." He laughed, very sneaky, but hey, it worked out. It really did. People ask me sometimes how it happened, how my straight roommate ended up being my boyfriend. They want a simple story, a clear moment of realization. But the truth is messier than that. The truth is that Noah slept in my bed for months before either of us understood what it meant. The truth is that feelings developed slowly, over shared dinners and late-night conversations and the intimacy of being someone's safe space. The truth is that Noah wasn't straight, he just hadn't figured himself out yet. And I almost let fear keep us apart, almost lost the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too scared to take a risk. My straight roommate slept curled against me, his head on my chest, his breathing steady and peaceful. And somewhere in those quiet nights we both fell in love. What happened next changed everything, but not because of some dramatic moment or grand gesture. It changed everything because we were both brave enough to be honest about our feelings, our fears, our truths. A year later, Noah moved all his stuff out of his room and into mine officially. We converted his old room into a home office. We adopted a cat named Douglas who insists on sleeping between us, much to Noah's annoyance and my amusement. We're building a life together. Not a perfect life, we still fight about dishes and Noah still has moments of doubt about his sexuality, and I still get scared sometimes that this is too good to last. But we're building it together, one night at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one choice to be brave at a time. My straight roommate slept like this, curled against me, trusting and vulnerable and exactly where he belonged. And what happened next? We fell in love. We built a life. We became home to each other. And that changed everything. The end.